Like, my fear of rejection is really stopping me from asking people. Would you guys like to be in our documentary about sex education?
Aurora?
No problem. Have a great day. No problem, thank you. Come on, I just want to ask you a question. What was sex ed like for you in school?
At first it was awkward.
Try on the little like pregnancy thing. Fear tactics probably more than anything.
This is a penis and this is a vagina, and if you put them together, don't. They just
I enjoyed the central hosts or presenters' approach to the piece overall. I thought she did a really great job of sort of anchoring, excuse me, of sort of anchoring the discussion writ large. And I thought that obviously sex education is something that all of us at some point had to interact with. And I thought that the piece really did a good job of sort of balancing the inherent awkwardness of that approach and sort of the appeal and then the necessity of educating people about sexual expression in all of its forms, because a lot of societal problems are a reflection of a lack of education and a sort of persistent ignorance around sex and sex education, both for the individual and with a partner. And I thought the piece had a good job of using multiple kinds of people, numerous subjects. It was really strong in terms of a human interest aspect and sort of creating a range of thoughts and reflections as to how people approach it. And I thought there was a good sense of overall humanity and community within the piece that I thought made it very endearing and easy to sense the empathy and the sort of central altruism in trying to build a documentary.
There is so many conversations happening, and that is the most important part, that people are talking, that they are expressing their feelings and thoughts and curiosities on sex, anatomy, consent, all these important topics that in many ways, especially in our current education system, get pushed under the rug or discussed in a super surface level kind of way. There are times when we really need to get in the nitty gritty, even as parents, who I think we forget oftentimes can be uncomfortable as well. So a multifaceted discussion here, coming in at 20 minutes, very well done, uses its time incredibly wisely, and with such compassion and even a little bit of dose of humor to get these conversations going.
Absolutely love this. So kudos to you for putting this together, for thinking, let me go out and make a documentary about sex education. Because it is an uncomfortable subject for a lot of people to talk to each other about, let alone on a camera. So great job in this. I thought it was really well done, a great pace, really fun music throughout as well. Just a great idea. Love the interviews with all the different women. I thought it was a lot of fun with the interviews and hearing people talk about it, and doing the little, the map of the different, the male parts and the female parts and how much people knew and didn't know. I mean, I went over this, with a friend of mine, because when you're at a certain age, you think you should know all of this stuff. And even your doctors don't really talk to you too much about it. So very interesting, open conversation with these women. And I commend you again for doing it and for being brave and putting yourself out there. I think sex education could change and would very much, our human race would benefit for it.
There should be way more sexual education out there, starting from the very beginning. I think society is really kind of bigot about this subject matter. They're usually scared to showcase to young people, teenagers and such, sex, to talk about sex. And then these people, what happens is that young people, then they just go on and learn about sex themselves, without a proper guide, maybe on the internet and such, and then they develop different ideas, and most of the time they end up doing most of the time then they don't manage to handle sex in the right way, and so bad things sometimes happen, like sexual harassment or sexual violence and such. So I think the film is really important in this subject matter because it gives us the idea. Not really the idea is actually talks about sex and it helps people to, especially young people, to better understand sex, because sexual education should be a thing that should be taught from the very beginning, so that people can grow up knowing everything they need to know about sex and then decide themselves, but still with all the means necessary to do.
I liked the kind of approach of, well, is it just me? Was it just my school? Is it other people? Let's go out and like kind of take to the streets and see what like the just I guess the baseline knowledge is. So I thought that was actually a really interesting way to kind of start and then really kind of show and demonstrate just how lacking that knowledge base really is, and kind of use that as a jumping off point, and how it started off as like just her kind of own curiosity and it branched into, well, let's see if anybody else is struggling with it, this kind of knowledge, but also getting the perspective of what that looks like in this kind of digital age. It's, about bloggers, it's about all these different things. It's not just about textbooks and what, you can kind of find, or, what's been, set as, oh, this is what worked by our school systems or anything like that. And then, taking it to, well, what were like some of these parents' point of views and what was their kind of perspective. And I really liked how many different kind of angles she approached it from, not just what is, the general consensus about what sex education has taught people, but what can we do to do better? What are different ways to kind of shape that and form that? Sex education is severely lacking, and something really to be desired.
It's shown that people don't know anything that much about just not about sex, but about physique or something related to sex, like mentally and emotionally. So it just kind of give us the hints why sex education in this country never works for any people out there, and how can they do better. So it starts with a question and it comes with other topics and answers at the end, which is a good structure for this kind of documentary. And it's really fun to watch. It's not super serious or very informative, serious documentary out there. So it's really fun to see the interaction of the filmmaker and people with some footages of the interviews and leading to other topics like consent or body features of men and women in terms of the sexuality. So this is pretty fun, entertaining, and insightful to watch.